going to do a little intro. So the format is Gonzo is going to observe here. I have the camera here. I have my voice, and I'm going to go around pass out stickers, and then we will edit the video and debrief. Yeah. So I think like the first thing I do is like not. We're already starting. Like the first thing is like just to chill in the environment or the space that you're in, and just take it in and become part of it, rather than I'm here for an agenda. I'm here specifically to Yang people, and these people are just a means to my ends. Like in any new environment you're in, I usually like just tune into the vibe of the place and get my own vibrations, to kind of match, just to be part of it. And that way your vibe just comes out off more natural. And you're just, here as part of the community and not like as some type of person with an agenda. It's a balance, because we do have an agenda. But the agenda involves spreading the truth of what we feel in our hearts to the people here. Despite whatever social anxieties, we all have that. I have that right now. Every time I think about going up to a group of strangers, I still feel that, But I also know that once I'm there, it'll be fun.
Yeah, we feel that it's all like in our best interest,
Yeah. So yeah, I think I'll just start off at that corner. Yeah. Hello. Can I just give you a quick sticker?
Yeah.
Do you know about this guy, Andrew Yang? Did you know his math hat means make America think harder?
Yeah.
Cool. Hi. Excuse me. Would you like a cool sticker? Do you know Andrew Yang? Okay. Just a quick interruption. Sorry to bother you. Just wanted to offer you a cool sticker if you like. This is an Andrew Yang sticker. Do you know about this man?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Did you know his math hat means make America think harder?
That's great.
Yeah. All right. Just wanted
very
to
much.
spread some swag.
Sure.
All right.
Thanks.
Please. Hello. Can I give you a sticker real quick? Do you know about Andrew Yang? Just wanted to spread some swag. So this is a presidential candidate, and his math hat means make America think harder. Yeah. Are you curious? Do you like talking about politics much? Okay. Well, you have a cool sticker at least. All right. Excuse me. Can I give you one of these real quick?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know Andrew Yang?
Yes, I do.
All right, cool. Do you know his math hat means make America think harder?
Oh, yeah, I actually did.
All right, cool. Yeah, we're just out to spread some swag. There's a lot of volunteers in town this week. You have very neat handwriting. That's amazing.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was more like scratch.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, it looks good.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good one.
You have a good day.
Yeah. Hello. Can I give you a cool sticker real quick?
Sure.
All right. Do you know about Andrew Yang?
Yep.
All right. All right. Can I give you one of these?
What's that?
It's an Andrew Yang sticker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are you guys like podcasting over there?
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay.
Well, we haven't decided what to do with this. I want to train people how to strike up conversations about
Okay.
Yang.
Yeah.
Because I'm from California. There's a bunch of volunteers in town from all over the country this week.
Does he also wear
All
that hat?
self-funded. Yeah, he does. He also wears a pin, like a math pin.
Okay, that's funny.
Do you know what it means? It's an acronym.
Oh, I assumed it was short for mathematics.
Well, yeah. Well, that too. That too. He's a tech entrepreneur. So,
Yeah.
And he's bringing they're calling the campaign like a revolution of reason.
Yeah.
And his hat means make America think harder.
Oh, okay.
So he's like, you got to think harder because Trump is saying that GDP is looking great, stock market's looking great, and it's true. The economy is producing at record, output. But if you look deeper, think harder, you'll see that we also have sky-high depression rates, suicide rates, so high that drug overdoses are so high that life expectancy has dropped for the past 3 years. Last time that happened was during the Spanish flu of 19 something. As we're producing more, you look deeper, how are we producing more? and he wrote 2 books about how technology transforms society, and we're growing the economy by automating, which is a great thing, except that the gains we're making from automation is getting stuck at the top into the hands of the big corporations while we shrink our middle class. We're about to lose 30 to 40 million jobs in the next 10 to 15 years. And Yang brought that conversation to the field. So a lot of the other candidates are also now talking about automation and what that's doing. Yeah. Economists are calling this the fourth industrial revolution that we're actually in the middle of already. And Yang saw in the data that Trump got elected because we lost 4 million manufacturing jobs here in Iowa and a lot of the Midwestern states. So, and he went on to study, what happens to people when they suddenly lose their livelihoods and put under economic stress. Literally, people's IQs drop by 13 points, functional IQ, because they can't focus on anything else but their next meal or their next month's rent. They also become more susceptible to tribalistic rhetoric.
Right.
So when Trump came along and started blaming the immigrants, that's kind of like a knee-jerk reaction. Something's wrong, and you look around, okay, immigrants. But really, it's really wall-to-wall robots at every factory. Automation is transforming how we produce things, how we do things. And it can be a really good thing, provided that we make every American a beneficiary of the overall economy, which is why he's proposing a universal basic income, and he's calling it the freedom dividend, to make every citizen a shareholder instead of like a cog in the machine.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for. I know I'm interrupting you guys. Yeah. Is this interesting to you guys? I don't want to be. Okay.
We keep
Cool.
trying to think harder about our work, but
Okay.
we let ourselves get distracted too. So.
Yeah. What are you guys working on?
We're all PhD students at Iowa State.
Okay.
Except he is actually. Well, actually, he's a postdoc now. Sorry.
Okay.
He actually has his doctorate. He's better.
Cool.
I'm not better.
Just further along
Just
on the
further
path.
along.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's kind of like what it feels like I'm doing, is like kind of life coaching people to open up to the possibility. Because this guy, I came from the tech background. I used to work for Amazon Robotics. And then I quit that like about 5 years ago, and I went to like the healing arts. So now I'm a life coach and a communications coach. So I really see, like, when I tell people about the universal basic income, the paradigm shift is really from one of scarcity to abundance mentality. Because people ask me, like, the most common objection is like, what will motivate people to work if they're getting free money? Right? Or does anything come up for you guys when you hear like, okay, he plans to give every American $1,000 every single month, no strings attached?
Where does that money come from? I guess is a
Right.
common question, right?
Yep, that's one question. And so right now, our economy again is growing by automating, right? So what he wants to tap is a tax scheme that allows us to tap a tiny piece of every Amazon sale, every Google search, every Facebook ad. And the best mechanism to do that is a value-added tax. So that's going to fund half of the bill. And then he has it laid out on his website and in his book, how the rest of it will. It'll also grow the economy, because if you think every person getting $1,000 guaranteed, location independent, employment independent, it'll really revitalize rural communities, because then people don't have a lot of urbanization that happens now is because that's the only place where work is. So if you have guaranteed income, regardless of where you are, it'll really spur, put buying power into local community hands, and people will more likely to start businesses where they're at, because they know that their fellow Americans have money to spend on local goods. So there's a lot of like positive, immeasurable externalities that when you really think about that, might start to come up. So economic growth is another piece of the pie, and added tax revenues from economic growth. But he lays it out because he's a math and numbers guy. So he lays it out in a lot of detail on his website. But the biggest change is the value-added tax, which most European nations already have for like the past 20, 30 years. Yeah, but that's like one very common question. Yeah. I also made these flyers that are $1,000. On the back, there's QR codes. If you scan any of these codes, it'll go to a YouTube video. And yeah, it'll tell you a lot more. Like, This guy, every one of his talks feels like a TED talk, and he also interviews with very conservative pundits like Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson. I don't know if you're familiar with those people, but because he's bringing so much reason, and he's actually acknowledging that Trump got certain things right in the sense that he felt the plight of the rural communities. Um, Now, he didn't provide any real solutions, but at least people felt like, he heard what their problems were.
Right.
So Yang's coming along. Not only does he see the problems, he has actual solutions. So that's why he's already peeling away 10% of former Trump voters. There's a poll, and that was a poll from like 3 months ago. So right now, his name recognition is growing. And anybody that I manage to get to read Yang's book becomes like an avid Yang gang. So I just try to funnel people to watch his long form interviews because that really gives you an idea. And then once people watch, usually I found out about him through Joe Rogan.
I saw that interview actually.
Okay, cool. Yeah. What'd you think of it?
It's good. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
All right.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Hello. Sorry to interrupt. Just a quick second. Can I give you a cool sticker? This is Andrew Yang. Do you know? Okay. Did you know his math hat means "Make America Think Harder"?
Oh, I didn't know. I
All right.
didn't know that either. I remember that. Yeah, I've
Okay.
seen that, but yeah, not true that.
It's true, right? And it's actually working. The thing is, I think he says that Americans are actually really smart. It's we never thought it was cool to be smart.
No, we've been dumbed down.
Yeah, we dumb ourselves down.
Yeah.
Because the media.
You can get by and be dumb.
Right. Yeah. So I think he's like waking up the latent, suppressed intelligence of the American populace by making it cool, by putting it out there. Yeah. People are calling his campaign the revolution of reason. So that was on a podcast with Eric Weinstein. Yang is a really good podcast. Every one of his talks is like a TED talk because he's a true intellectual. He's a technologist. He's a humanist.
It's entertaining to listen to in the last debate.
Yeah, so you saw that whole thing. Yeah, that was a rush. I love that one. Yeah. Did you guys hear like they might cancel it because of the impeachment? Like, because all the senators might need to go to the impeachment hearings. It's a big.
Here's where the senators go.
What's that?
Here's where the senators go.
Yeah, I mean, they said that if the debates don't happen, the senators, with the impeachment, you mean? Apparently, there's more. There's like the next trial, like the House impeachment and the Senate trial. Right.
Mitch was just going to pretty much barrel it through with no more witnesses, with no more
Uh-huh.
questions.
Trying to do what they did with Clinton.
Well, yeah, I mean, he just wanted to get it through, have a vote, and move on. So
Yeah.
not really divulge it.
So what Yang would say to that is like, Trump is not the problem. Trump is the symptom. Like the sneeze is a symptom of a flu, and if you get rid of the sneeze, you still have the flu. And if you impeach Trump, you still have the problems that got him elected in the first place, right? Which is mainly the economy. Do you guys?
Economy's bad now?
Well, the economy's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
The economy is good,
that's great.
and we're towards but it is not good for other people to just scratching to get by.
Yeah. So what's the top two issue on your plates, on your minds?
Well, immigration for now, for me,
Uh-huh.
because I've got a daughter Mexican.
Okay.
And they've been working on immigration for 2 years.
Yeah.
And I think international and the American.
Foreign policy, like for our perception on the international stage, right? Yeah.
Because that has gone too far.
Yeah. So do you want to hear what Yang has to say about that, the foreign policy part? So that's one reason I really like Yang is because he wants to take us past like a zero-sum mentality on the world stage where we feel like the only way the U.S. can win is if everybody else loses. Like the way we approach the China issue is like we're stuck in this competitive, antagonistic like tunnel vision, where we think China has to lose for U.S. to win, but he wants to switch us more to like we cannot lead the world by domination anymore. People are catching up, and it was never a, a holistic thing to dominate the whole time. It's we got to move towards from antagonism to collaboration. To realize that all of the human race is connected because the two big challenges coming up are global, not national, but global. Global warming and also the fourth industrial revolution. It's already decimated American manufacturing jobs, which is why Donald Trump got elected in the first place, because those jobs were mostly lost in the swing states. And Yang was like, he looked at the data and he saw that when people are thrown under sudden economic distress, their IQs literally drop by 13 points because they can't think about anything else but their next meal and the next month's rent. Survival. Like, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Survival's at the bottom. And and people struggling at that level become more susceptible to tribalistic rhetoric, which is why Donald Trump's message galvanized so much support. So what I love about Yang is he's able to see the root cause, the true root cause of issues, where people are saying, racism is bad. Yes, it's bad. Identity politics is bad. Yes, it's bad. But there's a deeper issue that racism is exacerbated by economic distress, is exacerbated by scarcity mentality. If every American believes that there's not enough to go around, then it's only natural to want to band together and exclude others and try to get stuff for yourself. But if we switch to an abundance mentality where everybody is a shareholder in our growing economy, that can relieve a lot of that tension.
That's why we have to get $1,000 to everybody that's over 18.
Yep.
Where's he gonna get that money from?
The money he will get from here. Well, being
Oh, okay.
well, this is just a flyer, but it's not printing money actually. It's a recirculation of money in the economy, because right now our economy is growing by.
It's kind of like socialism, isn't it?
Well, he would say that it's capitalism that doesn't start at zero.
I'd
It's
say it's socialism.
yeah, and you can put whatever.
That's why I'm opposed to that.
Okay. Well, so let's think. So he wants people to think harder about the labels that we choose to label these things
The
with.
normal average American, can they do really what I think?
Well, we have to encourage them to.
They're not thinking hard enough
They don't want to think.
to make America think harder.
So let's say it's the dichotomy of socialism versus capitalism, right? Capitalism works when people have money to spend, right?
You have to want to work.
Yeah. So
That's the problem. Some of these people don't want to work.
Well, but you have to have the opportunity.
yeah, you have to have,
There aren't enough opportunities.
There's lots of jobs open.
and also what the
See, that's just
Yeah.
it. They don't pay a living wage.
That is true. So there's a fine line between paying enough and having owners make enough money to survive too. I mean, you can't pay everybody $25 an hour.
Well,
Occupation.
the business either has to have has to either just have an even debit and credit sheet.
yeah. So I like to think about it. I like to think about it from the bird's eye view level. If you look at our overall economy, we have never been richer. We are producing at $19 trillion every year of GDP and growing. But the problem is we're growing by automating technology, automating. We have self-driving cars and trucks coming up, self-checkout at every store, malls are closing, robotic drone delivery of your Amazon packages. So we're set to lose about 30 to 50 million jobs in the next, right.
I mean, that's
Well-
not happening today.
Well, actually
To a large extent.
right, so,
You do have 10 cars running around that are automated, but I mean, you don't have millions of trucks driving themselves.
but soon there will be. And the timeline is,
30 years, yeah.
right, well, if you,
20 years.
so it's 10 to 15 is what a lot of the economists are saying out there. And if you think about that, that's one presidential term, 2 presidential terms, right? One
I
president,
can't count, yeah.
right? Yeah, I sometimes trip myself up on arithmetic, but Yeah. So one thing is, even if people want to work, are there going to be opportunities, and what kind of opportunities, right? And
But I
yeah.
worked as a social worker back in the 80s
Hmm.
over in Boone County. And
Okay, that's
there
great.
were
Yeah.
lots of people who did not want to work. They
Hmm.
just wanted to go to the social check.
Right, right.
And
And
get
and
their
the
food
thing is,
stamps. And
because
they
if they
were,
start to work, what happens to their benefits?
yeah, they don't get it.
Right. So that's an incentive to not work.
Yeah.
Right. So the whole thing.
Especially because the jobs are not paying enough to make the difference between.
So they have to work couple
Right.
jobs as well. Or else go back to work or go back to school. And there are
Lots of money.
Yeah, but there are opportunities. They don't get scholarships. They have
There's ways, but you have to be very savvy. You have to be very on top of it, and it's not a lot. Like if it's limited, and only the most savvy manage to walk the maze that get them the benefits. And once they get the benefits, if they get a job offer, they might lose the benefit. So it incentivizes people to not seek work. Is our current social benefits programs do? The welfare traps, is the big label for it. So the difference with this is, I heard it said that, welfare pays people to not work, and UBI pays people to work at anything they want, to do anything. They'll get paid no matter what. So
so they can sit home and watch TV all
this is
day.
true. Yeah, and if they were to do that, because they're already doing that, right?
Yeah.
So, but if they are having, but at least it doesn't incentivize them to do any less, like the welfare system currently does.
So you're just gonna give them 1,000, you're not gonna give them food stamps.
So certain programs don't combine. So food stamps will not combine with uh, what Andrew's calling the freedom dividend. Um, so if you elect the freedom dividend, you have to give up your food stamps. So that's one way of consolidating welfare programs into something that's more efficient. Because the freedom dividend is very low bureaucracy, very low overhead. Because you don't need a bureaucracy to say, okay, you deserve money, you don't. You make too much money to deserve a handout, but you can get a handout. So that creates a huge bureaucracy of people who need to judge people on their, worthiness to receive benefits, and that tends to be like a really demeaning process for people to go through. So there's no judgment here. It actually makes everybody the mentality of a shareholder and beneficiary of the overall economy, so that people don't have to fear innovation anymore. Because if I were to know that, okay, any innovation that happens in the overall American economy, I'm a beneficiary of that too as a citizen, then I wouldn't fear that innovation. But as it is now, when we innovate, I might fear, oh, I'm going to lose my job. So there's an environment where we are fearful of innovation, and that's just kind of a sad thing, because humans are such innovative creatures. Right? Yeah.
Like that, or fearful of innovation.
Well, certain people, a certain,
Who are at risk of losing their livelihoods. Right? So, and that's a large swath of entry level. And the next wave is going to be white collar jobs too. A lot of medicine is being.
medicine should, yeah, it's gonna change.
Right.
Like my job right now probably won't exist anymore because it could be.
I agree with you. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah.
We do need
So
more doctors, we need more nurses.
yeah. So
We need more
certain
care centers.
there's like an analysis. There's four categories of jobs. Anything repetitive, even if it's white collar job, like writing contracts. It's a legal thing, but that's very very automatable by artificial intelligence, and that will be automated in the next 5-10 years. Um, the only things that are not automatable are things that are not repetitive. So ironically, like plumbing is hard to automate because it requires a lot of every project's a little different. Um, but anything like cardiology is automatable because cardiology you're comparing X-ray films. Doctors like look at X-ray films and look. Oh, is that a cancer or is that not?
Criteria.
Yeah. Yeah, and AI is overtaking human doctors on being able to spot cancers from an X-ray film. So a lot of like if you look at medical schools right now, nobody wants to specialize in radiology because they know in the next 5, 10 years that's going to be automated. So yeah, it's going to start impacting more and more of the population. And what I want to say is that this could all be a very positive thing. Where we're actually headed for over the next 100 years, technology is going to be so advanced that we're going to be able to live kind of like a Star Trek society where we have 3D printing. We can print our own steak. You can 3D print a steak. So we're going to have so much capability that we can start to live in a mindset of full abundance. Um, but right now, as we're headed, because all the money and value is getting stuck at the top, concentrated in corporations and billionaires, it's just not access and capital are not evenly distributed amongst people. And that's what Andrew kind of wants to do is tweak the economy so that the common person is a beneficiary of all these innovations. Whereas right now, it's only the big companies that benefit. So his idea is called human-centered capitalism, and his other campaign slogan is humanity first. If I can find some of those stickers. So he is for a. Oh no! So he loves immigrant. I mean, he's a son of immigrants. His parents are researchers that came from China, from Taiwan actually, and he was born in upstate New York. So he would just be like a living symbol of a successful immigration um, story. And what he wants to do is provide a path to citizenship for dreamers. I don't know the details of the plan, but he has it laid out on the website. Yeah. So
What about the rest of them come to America for a better life?
um, so I mean, like I think symbolically, like he will just tell that story just by being who he is, a son of immigrants, born and raised in Schenectady, New York, as the only Asian kid in the white community, and coming from that background and then becoming the president of the United States. Right? It's just, his parents were his father or his grandfather was a peanut farmer in Taiwan, I think, and but his parents came as graduate students and studied at UC Berkeley, and were researchers. His Oh yeah, his father owns like 50 patents with IBM. Yeah, yeah,
Well, I mean, Wang yeah. He's up there.
yeah. So he's very
The only way
pro.
he can afford to live.
Yeah, his net worth is about 2 million. It's a little lower than Bernie Sanders. Um, yeah, Bernie's a little hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars worth of value for other people through his nonprofit. He ran for 7 years of his career. He ran a nonprofit that was fighting the brain drain that went from America's top schools to greedy endeavors in Silicon Valley and Wall Street. He wanted to funnel young minds and intellectual capital into the Midwest that were decimated by automation. So his nonprofit was a startup accelerator that groomed and cultivated young entrepreneurs to place them in Midwestern communities. And his story is that he created hundreds of companies and thousands of jobs in the Midwest.
So what state? In Iowa or in
I,
Wisconsin?
Michigan, Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah, he writes about it in his book. I don't know exactly, but Iowa, I think, is included in the places he's touched. Yeah, so he would say that, at one point he recognized that he started creating thousands of jobs, right? But for every 1,000 jobs he created, the overall economy is going to lose 10,000, 100,000 jobs because of automation. So he's like, right now, as good as I'm doing, like he was named the ambassador of entrepreneurship by the Obama administration, and champion of change by Obama himself. But he's like, I'm getting all these accolades, but really, if you look at the numbers, I'm pouring water into a bathtub that has a giant hole in the bottom because of this fourth industrial revolution that's happening at the global level. So that's why he decided he needed to run for the presidency. And his message is poverty and you starve. He wants it to be the other way around. Markets and the economy should serve people. So he wants to realign the incentives, and the universal basic income is part of that program. He wants to start measuring things like, instead of just measuring GDP and stock price, we should be measuring health outcomes, educational outcomes, like wealth inequality, upward mobility, all those things. He wants to create what's called an American scorecard. He wants to present that at every State of the Union address. How are we actually doing in terms of our happiness? More holistically than just, oh, GDP is great. Because if you think about it, a hurricane coming through increases the GDP because we have to start rebuilding things. So it's not really a good measure. So that's the whole thing about thinking harder. It's like we have these measures that we're following, but we're following it off a cliff. We have to have better measures. And once we create the American scorecard, we can then start to tie economic incentives to those scorecards. Like if you notice a company that's doing well for the environment that they're in, doing well for their communities, maybe we can give them a tax break. So to encourage people to do positive things that are holistic through the workings of capitalism. That's why it's called human-centered capitalism. Yeah.
Good, yeah.
Oh, thanks for listening.
Yeah, I've seen your booth down here.
Uh-huh.
I've seen him on TV. I watched the debates a few times.
Yeah.
He's got a real sense of humor.
Yeah, he has the most fun on the trail.
Yeah, and he has a handicapped child.
Yeah, he has an autistic son. Yeah. So I made these flyers. If you scan any of these 2D barcodes here, with your phone, it'll take you to a YouTube video.
Okay.
So yeah, Karen Hunter is a great one. It's a rather new one. So yeah, if you hold your just phone camera up to it, should pop right up. Yeah. Thanks for listening. This has been a good conversation. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for going around.
Yeah, come visit us. We're right next door. Yeah. We'll probably be around here at lunchtime almost every day.
Well, I'm
So.
glad to see that you guys are hanging in there. It's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
Did something happen in Ohio? Did you not get his?
Oh yeah, it was some technicality. Like he got 3 times the number of required signatures, but for some paperwork reason he didn't get on the ballot. Yeah. Yeah. So
He'll probably make it up.
he's doing like a write-in campaign now.
Oh, is it?
I mean, it just kind of goes to show our political system's like super clunky and not responsive to our needs. So.
That's what I was sorry to hear that because he's really trying hard. And being an Asian, American, I think he's really good.
Yeah.
I just think that he's a good candidate.
Yeah. There's an Asian comedian that's like, we need an Asian president because Asians are the only objective referees for America's racial problems. And I thought that was like pretty funny. So, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's another thing. Like he likes to play with positive stereotypes like math, right? That's another place where I think he's just out of this world, like different from any politician. He's able to acknowledge. Most politicians stay away from, identity or like racial complexes, but he addresses it head on with humor, with levity. He's able to play with America's identity complexes. 44.
And what has he ever held a job in government before?
Nope. Even though he was ambassador of entrepreneurship, like it was never an official government title. So he's a political outsider. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's more of a.
Even like Mayor Pete.
What's that?
Term limits.
I think he wants to do term limits for Supreme Court justices of like 20 or so years, something like that. He does want term limits, but I don't know the exact. Yeah, you'll have to go to yang2020.com to find those details. Yeah. Is that something you see we need? Yeah, he's definitely for it. Yeah. Oh, the other thing he wants to do that's cool, I think, is ranked choice voting. So instead of voting for one person, you rank your favorites from like 1 to 10. So that'll change the psychology of voting altogether. Where if you feel like you can't win, then you won't vote. But if you just rank in terms of preference, that's how we do our Oscars. Okay, the Oscars are ranked choice voting.
I
And
don't think too much of the Oscars. So.
yeah, I mean me neither, but I do feel like it's a better voting system. He also wants democracy dollars, which is to give every American $100 to donate to any political campaign, and that'll increase political engagement. Because if you think about it,
Eliminates the rest of the campaign.
so it'll wash out. So it's hard to ban lobby money because when you ban it, they'll find another way to sneak it in.
Corporations.
Right. So what the democracy dollars tries to do is it'll eclipse, it'll overpower lobbyist money, because $100 into the hands of every American times 300 million, it'll wash out lobbyist money by a factor of 8 to 1. So it amplifies every individual citizen's voice. Because if you think about it, how do you participate in politics? To donate to a campaign, you have to have disposable income. And a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck, so they don't have any way to support their candidate of choice. So giving them $100 each, they have a lot of power there that's amplified, plus the universal basic income. So yeah, a lot of innovative policies, and it's like, if you just think like the design principle is put humanity first. Huh?
He has a lot of good, maybe he has a lot of different ideas, but how hard is it going to be to implement all these ideas?
That's a great question, and
because they are so different, and you can see how there's gridlock and
right.
you can see
So his other slogan is not left, not right, forward.
forward.
So because of that, he's already pulling over a lot. I personally know like 24 Republicans that are registering as Democrat in California this year to vote for this guy. And if you see over here, he has an interview with Ben Shapiro, who's a very strong conservative pundit, and he won him over in that interview. It was really fun to see. Past couple decades, right? The oil money, right? Yeah, he would say over here it says technology is the oil of the 21st century. So as oil revenue retreats, technology revenue is increasing, and if we can somehow tap big data, artificial intelligence, all those things that are automated in our economy, this technology can be treated like, it's just value that's self-generated, kind of like oil. So that's the analogy there. Yeah. All right. Well, Elizabeth, thanks for the conversation. I'm Levin. Yeah. I'll see you guys around. Yeah. Can I give you a cool sticker? Have you heard of Andrew Yang before? All right. Did you know his hat means "Make America Think Harder"? Yeah. Cool. Would you like some more of this? All right. Cheers. Would you like an Andrew Yang sticker?
Oh, sure. Thank you.
Would you like an Andrew Yang sticker? Have you guys heard? Have you heard about him much?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you know his hat? Do you know what the acronym means?
No.
Pop quiz. It's
Okay.
Make America Think Harder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And his other slogan is humanity first.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like this?
Sure.
You should rock that right here.
Put it right, yeah. Sounds
Yeah.
good. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like one of these cool Yang Butt flyers?
Oh, nice.
Yeah. On the back of that, there's QR codes. Takes you straight to YouTube interviews. This guy's a true humanist, technocrat, visionary.
Yeah, I actually met him.
Nice. Nice. Is he on your top 5?
Top 3.
Okay.
Yeah, top
Sweet. Yeah. Can I give you one of these too?
Oh. Cool.
Yeah. On the back, there's QR codes. If you scan any of those, it'll take you to a YouTube interview. His interviews are like TED Talks because he's a true visionary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep. Welcome. Would you guys like some Yang stickers too?
Sure.
Have you gotten one of these yet?
Thank you.
Did you know his math? Do you know what the acronym means? It means Make America Think Harder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Would you like to find out more? If you do, you can scan any of these codes and it'll take you to a YouTube video.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Would you like one too?
Thank you.
Cheers. What's up, dude? Can I give you one of these real quick?
Oh, one second.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, you too. All right. Sorry to interrupt. Just wanted to offer you some stickers real quick. Would you guys like some Yang stickers? This is Andrew Yang.
Thank you.
Do you know what the acronym means? The math acronym? It means Make America Think Harder. Yeah. And then his other slogan is Humanity First. I think I only have one of these left. Would you guys like one of these?
I'm good.
All right. Cool. What do you guys think of this? Is he on your radar at all to look into?
I'm not super well educated on the politicians who are running.
Okay. Can I leave you with these? These on the back of these, there's QR codes to go to YouTube videos since you like watching YouTube videos. Yeah, this guy's a true like technocrat, humanist, visionary, and he wants to make the economy. Right now, people serve the economy, and if we don't serve the economy, the needs of the economy, we starve and end up in poverty. He wants to spin that around and say that economy should work for people. It's the system that should serve people, and not the people serve the system. So his whole plan is what's called human-centered capitalism. He wants, first of all, to measure our happiness instead of just GDP. Because GDP is going up, but so is depression, so is drug overdoses. So much so that our life expectancy has dropped for the past 3 years.
How do you measure something so subjective as happiness?
So there's a couple of things, right? So there's health outcomes, education outcomes, clean air and water, upward mobility, those types of things. There's a lot. So he's calling it the New American Scorecard, which includes all of those things and more. I don't know all of them. And once we have those metrics, he's going to report them at every State of the Union address. No jokes, or maybe some jokes, but present the data for how we're actually doing. Yeah. He's actually really funny too. So, I mean, he likes to play with like positive stereotypes. He's the only person who knows how to kind of, with levity and joy, like play with America's identity complexes. And I think it's just really refreshing to see. He also, pointed out that people under economic distress become more susceptible to identity politics, tribalistic rhetoric. So, and that's why he wants to give every American universal basic income. $1,000, right? Which is why we made these. Yeah. All right. Well, I was interrupted.
Thank you.
Yeah. Have a good one.